Hello everybody, my name is Cameron, and if you're clicking on this video, today is the start of a new journey for you because I'm going to teach you the basics of make.com and how to make money. Now there's going to be a lot of people out here in this new AI wave that's trying to teach you make.com, but they're teaching it to you way too advanced. There's only basic things you need to do. You just need to know the 80-20, as the young people say. You just need to know the 80-20 of how to use make.com. So pretty much that's what today is what I'm going to teach you. I'm going to take everything step by step and break everything down for you guys. So starting off today, pretty much I'm just gonna show you guys how to build a quick scenario. I don't want to make this first video too long. If you've logged in, this should be the page that you see when you first log in after making your account. You really don't need the paid version. And also, side note, you can either pick between N8N or make.com. But first, if you're trying to start an agency or something, or if you're trying to get into no-code tools, AI automation, things like that, I recommend you start with make.com. It's way more simpler, way easier to break down and understand, which is where I come in. I'm going to show you guys how to use this. So like I said, this is the page you see after making your account. I'll just break everything down with you. My organization is pretty much just going to be all of your information on make.com, just how many credits and things you have. Pretty much credits is, I'll explain that later. But credits, you have 1,000. If you have the paid version, you get way more. But just for right now, just stick with the paid version. Don't pay for anything. Next, you just have team. There's nothing really important on team. Scenarios, this will just show all of your automations pretty much. A scenario is just essentially an automation. Next, you have AI agents. I really don't break into that. I mainly use N8N for my agents. When I do use an agent, I don't really use agents like that too much. Templates, if you guys are new, you guys can maybe look into some templates, things of that nature right there. Just get an idea of how things work, but make sure you watch this video first. Don't jump into templates. You're not gonna understand what you're doing. Excuse me. Connections, I'm not gonna go to this page, but pretty much it is what it is. It's just all of your Google connections and things. I don't want to click on it because then it'll show my email address and things like that. Then we have the more tab, pretty much your webhooks. That's just gonna literally show all your webhooks. If you don't know what a webhook is yet, we'll get into that into another video. I don't want to break it down because that's a pretty advanced strategy, but very important, very crucial. So we'll go into that later. And then, like I said, I'm just teaching you the basics of how to make money on this. So to be honest, maybe I don't use it, but other people are different. But on this page, really the only important thing is webhook. Keys, devices. You may use data stores, maybe. Data structures and custom apps. I never use any of that stuff. So don't worry about that. The only thing you really need to worry about is webhooks on this. But get out of here. But today, we're going to be making a small scenario just so I can show you guys how things work on here, just so we can break into AI automation. Now, I know a lot of people do this, but I'm not going to do this. I'm not leaving a blueprint down in the description because I need you guys to actually do this with me and learn. So what I want you to do is pause this video, open it up on your second tab if you have one. Maybe you have a phone or something, play this on your phone. And then on your PC, I want you to open up make.com and I want you to follow through with me because you can watch. It's one thing to watch, but if you're actually doing it along while watching me, this is going to stick in your mind some more. So like for all my videos, at least for all my beginner tutorial videos, I'm not putting the blueprint down in the description. I want you guys to follow along. So pretty much what I like to do is I like to plan things out so you can get a better understanding what you're going to do. Don't just jump straight in. And also, we're just going to be working with basic APIs, just basic tools such as Google tools, since those are free tools, but most tools are pretty much similar. So pretty much what we're going to have is we're just going to have a form. We're going to get some information about our clients. Then it's going to move into a sheet. Then we're going to use AI. OpenAI, ChatGPT. I'm pretty sure all of you young ones are familiar with that. We're going to use that I'm going to show you guys pretty much what AI automation is, why they call it AI automation, because automation is one thing, but when you're using a LLM such as ChatGPT or a Claude to do things with it, that is what we call AI automation. And then we're going to use AI and we're going to update our qualified sheet. If that sounds like a lot, just wait. So step number one is we pretty much need to make everything. So we're going to go back to scenarios. and we're going to click on create new scenario. And then you're greeted with this nice little plus sign. You click on this plus sign and you're going to see a lot of different things. These are pretty much all of the applications that you can use. So if it's in here, you can do work with it. There's a lot of stuff in here. There's probably hundreds of things in here, hundreds of things in here. It just depends on where you're at in the world and what you're doing with what kind of automation you're trying to make. Because I'll be honest, I've used like 3% of everything in here. I had to come back in and record this because I did get a little ahead of myself, but pretty much I forgot to break this down at the bottom, but pretty much this is your save button. Make sure you guys take advantage of this, because if your computer breaks or your power turns off, your scenario is gone. So make sure you take advantage of this save button very, very often. Scenario inputs and outputs. We don't use that. I'll be honest, I never used that before. Scenario settings. There's a lot of important things in here, but we're not going to go over none of that right now. We're not going to go over any of it right now. We'll come back to that at a later date, because there's something important in here that I want to show you guys, but I don't want you guys to get ahead of yourselves. So we'll come back to that. Notes. If you guys want to just take any notes, you do them right here. Previous versions. This will help you revert back to your previous versions if you need to go backwards in time. And get out of here. Auto align. This is pretty much if you just have a bunch of things. Let's just say, I don't know if I can do. I don't really know if I can show you guys. They might play around with me and make me put in a bunch of information. Let's see. Then put it right here. Iterator. Okay. Then if you just click auto align, it'll just automatically make it better for you guys. Simple stuff like that. And then we have our last one. Explain the flow. It'll just, I shouldn't have deleted that. Let's see if we can add it back. I'm disappointed in myself. It's probably not gonna work, but explain the flow pretty much just, I'll show you that in a later video also, but it pretty much just does what it does. You'll probably never use that either, but it just pretty much shows the direction the flow is going in, but you should know most of the time. And then we have export blueprint, which is after you're finishing, you want to send this blueprint to somebody, you click on export blueprint, and that'll pretty much create it into a JSON file, and then you can send it to anybody that you want them to use it. Or import a blueprint, which is how if somebody sends you a blueprint, or maybe you download it off the interweb or something off of YouTube, you would go here and import a blueprint, and then you would drag, or it would actually go through your files, and then you would add it in right there. So first things first, we're just gonna name our scenario. We'll just name it basic. No, I don't want that's lame. We're just gonna do CAMS class day 1. We're just gonna name it that. And what I want you guys to do is, like I said, the first thing we're gonna have is a Google form. Now you can use Typeform or anything. Typeform. I'm having a brain fart. I can't think of any more form apps, but we're just gonna use Google Forms, because that's the most common thing. So what we're gonna do here is we are going to, I'm gonna put you guys on game. For those of you who didn't know you could use Google tools, you simply go like Google. Wait, no, it might be forms.new. All right, there we go. Forms.new. All right, back to this. So pretty much like I was saying, we have this plus sign and we have all of these different apps. So we'll click on an app since we're using Google Forms. Let me search for that. You could just search for it down here, Forms. And then you look for Google Forms. And then you have all of these different functions that you could do with Google Forms. You could search form. Search, pretty much it kind of says what it is underneath it. You search a form, create a new form, get a form, update a form, all of this. All of this. What we're going to use is watch responses. Triggers when a new response is received. That's what we want, because usually if you're trying to get information from a client, then they would submit that form on the website, and then you would get the information. So what we need to do is watch for responses for that form, if that makes sense. And also you'll notice this asset thing. I'll break this down pretty much the best I can. There's 3 types. You can just have a regular one, which is like a time. It's just gonna make sense in a second. Watch. You can have just a regular one, or it can be an instant trigger, or it can be an asset trigger. Now, I believe if I don't use assets that much, at least I don't pay attention to them, but you're going to use them. That doesn't mean you'll always pay attention to them though. But pretty much an instant and an asset are pretty much the same thing. it's just pretty much the best way to explain an ACID is if it's something that's important in a scenario doesn't finish it, it's going to automatically delete it. So as for an example, just say for all of you video creators out there or anybody who does YouTube, just imagine you're recording a YouTube video and then your power goes out and that video's gone. That's pretty much what an ACID is. If that scenario, if your scenario doesn't finish going all the way through, all the information will be deleted. That only matters if it's like crucial information such as like bank statements or something like that you're going to be messing with. But if you're not doing anything of major importance, it doesn't matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on watch responses. Like I said, everybody follow through. And they're going to have to make a connection. So you'll click on connection. Now I can't do this with you. It's pretty straightforward, to be honest. All you have to do is just sign into your account so you can get all the information. So like sign into your Google account, and then all your Google account information and all your forms and things will be in make.com. So we're just going to pick this. And then it's going to ask you for your form ID. But we can't do that yet because we don't have a form ID. We haven't made the form yet. So what we're going to do is we're also going to click on this, and then we're going to go to sheets.new because we want to also need a new sheets. So what we're going to name this is CAMS Class 1 Sheets. And we're just going to use simple information that you would collect from a client. We're just going to say first name, last name, company name, and we're just gonna put something simple. Money. Okay. So we're just gonna be working with this. I always like to bold everything because it looks better in my eyes. Resize columns. Fit the data. Boop. All right. And also let's do this too. Let's just do this too. Oh, don't do that. What am I trying to do here? Okay. Highlight these rows, make them gray. That looks better. Okay. So you're going to want to have the same questions that correlate with your form. So you're going to have a form. We'll just name this CAMS Class 1 form. Question, multiple choice, don't do that. Short answers. I'm pretty sure we all know how to use Google Forms, so I'm not going to break that down to you guys. It's pretty self-explanatory. But forms will say, what is, don't capitalize that. What is your first name? I do still look at the keyboard when I type. Don't do anything. Put that as required. What is your first name? Also, we need to know what is your last name. Stick with me now, stick with me. We also need to know what is your company name. Okay. And how much money do you make? This is going to be a common question that all gurus ask you guys. So I'm going to show you guys how to get around this. How much money do you make? So this is going to be a short answer. A short answer. Company name, short answer. Okay. Make sure I have everything here. So, get ready, guys. So, we're going back here. We're going to start with our basic form. That's going to be step 1. Publish. Anyone can link. Publish. Okay, cute. Publish. So, we have our form right here, and we're going to want to use watch responses, like I said, so we can watch all the responses when they come in. Now, I bet you're wondering what this little clock right here is. This is pretty much the way this is your trigger. This is the way that your automation is going to start, pretty much, essentially. There can be, like I said, 2 types. It's going to be this one with the clock, which means that it's gonna trigger every however long you set the time for. You can set it down here. I can't do it right now. We'll get to that later because I have to put my information in. Or you can have, say, I'll link this, a webhook. A webhook. We're just using an example. I just want to show you what it looks like. A webhook, and it says instant, which means it's going to have, say, a lightning bolt. A lightning bolt means it happens fast, just like lightning's fast. It happens in an instant. So every single time somebody goes on your website and submits a form, this scenario is going to trigger because it's an instant trigger. But like I said, if you're using a maybe Google form, it'll have a clock, which means that it'll save a bunch of information, and then every 15 minutes, it says 15 minutes down here, but you can change that. But every 15 minutes, it'll trigger, and then it'll collect all the information and trigger the scenario. So like I said, the clock means it happens on a timer. The lightning bolt means it happens on an instant trigger. Yeah, just want to break that down to you guys. Delete. So now we want to set up our module. So you're going to need a form ID. Now, this I can't tell you exactly, but I do believe that for most things, your form ID will be somewhat similar. Your form ID is going to be, for most Google things at least, you see up here where it says docs, google.com, forms, D. Anything after the D, and between this to this is the form ID. Copy. And paste that in here. So now that's going to get all of the information from that Google form. Limit 2, we'll just put it at limit 1. Like I said, the limit, like I said, because you have it on a timer, say 100 people submit this form within 20 minutes. It's only going to submit every 20, or it's only going to like do the trigger. What am I trying to say here? The scenario is only going to run every 20 minutes. And so if you have a limit of 1, it's only going to get one, the first person that submitted that form, and it's only going to run the scenario for that. But if you change it to 2, out of those 20 people, it's going to get the first 2 people that did that submitted the form for that scenario. You understand what I'm saying? So we'll just do it in 1, because also actually don't let me confuse you yet. Save. Choose where to start from now on, which means anything that was submitted before we made this form, or anything that was submitted before we made this scenario, we won't get it. We'll only get the stuff from now on. Since specify date, you can put a date from when you want the scenario to start. All, which means anything that was created before, any form that was submitted before or after this scenario was created, it'll use that as information. Or choose manually, which means you can just pick where you want to start it on. We'll just put for now on. There we go. Now we have our first one set up. I don't want to run that because I don't want to run through my email addresses. And plus I want to show you it in action. So then, what do we need next? We need to add that information to the sheet. So every time somebody submits that form, that information will go to a sheet. So watch this. We're going to use this sheet right here. This is going to be pretty much a CRM of sorts, a mini CRM, just to keep information for your clients. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click the plus one to add another module. This little line right here means that these 2 modules are connected. We're going to use Google Sheets, and we're going to do, where's it at? Add a row. Yes, add a row. We're going to do add a row. It's going to be great. Select your connection. Search method by path. Just leave it by path. My drive, just leave this my drive. You don't really need to change this. Like I said, everything I'm saying is like the basic stuff that you'll need. There's obviously advanced stuff that'll help, but I'm just giving you the basics. Don't think too hard about stuff. Then you're going to want to choose your spreadsheet ID. Now, luckily with this, it gives you a drop down of all your sheets. So you can either look for your sheet, or if you want to, I forgot how you change it. Search method by path, select or enter manually. Then you can just put in the spreadsheet ID like I told you earlier. In our case, we're just going to do the spreadsheet ID because that's way faster. Copy. Plus, I want you guys to remember how to do this. Sheet name. It's going to ask you for the sheet name. Okay, actually. Sheet name. Enter a sheet name. I don't want to lie about the sheet name. But yeah, select path. Okay, get this out of here. Search by path. My drive. Sheet name. Okay, we're gonna pick the sheet ourselves. I don't want that. That's doing too much. Cam's class 1. Let's go down to it. Cam's class 1. Where is it at? Might have the wrong one. Cam's. Okay, there we go. Sheet name. Okay, when it says sheet name, that's just this down here. So if I was to add another sheet down here, then they would have two different sheet. There would be two different sheets. That's just sheet name. Table contains headers. Yes, it does. And then you see this right here. That sheet that you just made, all that information, first name, last name, company name, money, is the same thing that's right here because you have now moved this sheet over to make.com. So what you're going to want to do now is, what is your first name? We can't do that yet. Text answer. Don't do this yet. Answers. We could do this like that, but we're not going to do that yet. What we want to do right now is move this over here. I'm going to put you guys on game. What I want you to do is run this. I was not trying to do that. Okay, what I want you to do is run this. Okay. Let's do it this way. So what we're going to want to do is copy response link. Copy. And then I'm not going to do this. I don't want you guys to see this, but I'm going to do it over here. I'm going to put this in, and I'm just filling out this form. You guys can't see it. But what is your first name? Cam Johnson. What is your company name? What is your company name? I'm not going to use my real company name. We're just going to make something up. Trees Helper. And how much do you make? I make $500. I make $500. Submit. So pretty much I just submitted the form. So now we run the scenario because we have something to work with now. So we run this form right here. Run. And man, oh man, oh man. Now we have information. Gets out of here. Now we have information to work with. I'll explain this in another video in deeper, but pretty much we have a bundle. Every time we do something, you get an input. You get an output. Oh my God, I can't talk. You get an input. Let me break this down for you guys. The input was when we submitted the form because we're sending that into Make, and then our output would be the information we get. So our output, and it says output right here, would be answers. What is your first name? Answer. Cam. That's what I put in. What is your company name? Answers. Tree Helper. That's the company name I put in. Okay, like that. So then once we connect these two together, get out of here. Move this back closer. Once we connect these two together, we can now put this information in. So we'd say first name. Can I search for this? You can search for it too. Name, answers. Okay, they're not gonna make this easy on me. We're gonna have to actually search for this ourselves. Yeah, we're gonna have to search. We're gonna do this the hard way, guys. Answers. What is your favorite grade? Answers. What is your favorite? Why in the world? What is your favorite? The materials. Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Everything is jumbled up. Answers. Value. It didn't work the way we wanted it to, but I wanted to show you this, but it's not gonna work the way we wanted it to. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can do it now. Run once. Choose where to start. All. I want to see if it'll work. What is it missing? I have to save. My bad. Run once. All right. Now we should be able to use. Bro, I'm sorry. Now we should be able to use the information. There we go. So now, because we've tested this module, because we ran this module, now we have information in this module. Everything previously will show up. So now we can have text answers, and you'll see answers. Cam. Just like that. Then we go to the next one. What is your last name? Text answers. Answers. Value. Johnson. There we go. What is your company name? And every module will be different. You'll just have to work with every module. Everything is similar, but everything is also different. But it's not too far different, if that makes sense. Once you work with one, you kind of understand how the pattern goes when you're trying to find your information. Or most of the time, you can just enter this in right here. Because I could just simply go value, and now I have all the information right here. So first name, last name, value, Johnson, company name, and then how much money do I have? 500, just like that. If I could grab it, please grab it, please grab it. Okay. Okay, there we go. Company name. I messed that up completely. Company name is this. Money Talks is this. Okay, save. So now, because we have done that, we have now set up our Google Forms module, and now we have set up our Google Sheets module. So now, every time we submit a Google form, it'll automatically go to our Google Sheets. So watch this. We now have automation on our hands, guys. Watch this. Run once. Hold on, let me do this, because I don't feel like entering information or anything over and over again, so we're just gonna use all. So do this. Beep. Watch this now. We now have this information on our Google Sheet. We have just created our first small automation, guys. We're making big moves. We're making very big moves right here. If you guys are following me, let me know. Let me know if you guys are following me. Hopefully you guys are. So now, we've done that. We've tested it and it's working good. So now we're gonna go to the next step, which is we're gonna add AI in. Now things are gonna get a little bit more dangerous. We're gonna add AI in. Now, AI is a very powerful tool, as you know. So we have to be very, very careful with this. So what we're gonna do with OpenAI is we're gonna pretty much qualify based on our money, how much money they're making, because we don't wanna work with everybody if they don't have enough money. We only wanna work with certain people. There's better ways to do this also, but I just wanna do this the most basic way so you understand it. So we're going to use OpenAI. Where's that? Go back to our make scenario. Now, we're going to type in OpenAI. We're going to get the OpenAI one, and they have a bunch of different things you can do with OpenAI. Create a model response, list input items, get a model response. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I've never used any of that. The only thing that I really use is create a completion, and that's really all you'll ever use in this one. If I could be correct, like I said, I could be wrong, like I said, but I have only used this right here. Now, pay attention, guys, because this varies per user. Select a method. You already picked that. Model. Now, these are all of the models for ChatGPT. Now, I usually just pick the best. I usually just pick the most current one. Some people like to go in depth and just pick whichever one, or pick older ones, because some work better than others for certain things. But usually I just stick with the most current one. If you guys do something different, just say down in the comments what you guys do. But I like to just stick with the most current version of ChatGPT. Then you're going to want to add a message. And now we have 4 roles. This is going to be very confusing, but I want you guys to maybe get a pen and paper or a notepad or something and write this down so you can remember it. So we have 3 roles. This is like basic prompt engineering stuff. Pretty much, if you don't do this right, your prompts are gonna suck. Your AI is gonna suck pretty much, and you're gonna get bad information. Stop this. You're going to get bad information, and it's not gonna work the way you want it to. So pretty much, practice makes perfect with this. Over time, you'll get good with it. But pretty much, I'll explain this too. So you have user, assistant, and developer, and tools. Now, ignore tools. I've never used that before. Developer is what you want to usually start off with. Write developer first. So pretty much developer is, I also wrote it down right here. System/developer is going to be your system, your behavior, how you want the AI model to behave, which will be something such as role. We're going to pick role, system, developer. What do I want his behavior to be? You are a what do I want him to be? I'm thinking. Let me think. You are a pro helper. Okay, because I don't really need him to do anything advanced, so it doesn't really matter for this. I just need him to sort something out. But say you're doing like copywriting, like say you're trying to use AI or something to make ads. You would say you're a professional copywriter or you're a professional ads maker or whatever. But I'm just doing something simple, so I'm just going to put something like this. Then you want to click on add message again. Now you want to add in your user, which your user is what do you want it to do? In our case, I already have something up. User. And let me see if I can get that back because I don't feel like typing all of that out. Copy. Paste. Okay. You will be given a dollar amount. If the amount is greater than or equal to $1,000 or 1,000, reply only with qualified. If the amount is less than 1,000, reply with only unqualified. Get this out of here. Now, like I said, you want to be very specific with this or you're going to have a lot of errors. You want to tell it exactly what to do. Don't let AI think for itself most of the time. Unless you want it to think for itself most of the time. If you let it think for yourself most of the time, you're going to have to do a lot of molding to get that AI to where you want it to be. But sometimes that's what you have to do. But right now, we just needed to do exactly what we needed to do. So that's why this prompt is like this. And then you're going to need to put your amount, the information that you wanted to use. So we can use the information from our Google Sheet, which is this right here, money, so we would use, where's that? I can't do it right now because I haven't ran the scenario. Yes, I can. Why isn't it showing? Sheet 1. Anyways, we'll just use this value. Okay, get that out of here. Okay. And then max completion tokens. I usually just leave that as what it is. I know a lot of people change it, but I typically just leave it what it is. And then we'll click on save. And now we have our AI set up, our AI module set up. Now I'm not going to run this yet because I don't want to use it yet. And I made a mistake also. Add this. We need to add that right there. I made a mistake. Now we want to go to Google Sheets because what does it say right here, guys? Update. Oh yeah, wait a minute. I moved way too fast. Go back to this real quick. I didn't explain what this last one meant. There's gonna be one more role. Assistant. Assistant is pretty much just any example info you have. So say you're using AI to maybe write a cold email and you want to give it kind of like a borderline of what you want it to do. You would put that here so it can have an example. Or say you wanted to respond to a certain message, you would put that here and then you would put the message here and then how you wanted to respond. Don't think too hard about this stuff, guys. When we get to it, we'll get to it. Just wait for it to happen. We're not going to use that today, so don't worry. For something this basic, we don't need to put an assistant for it because it's yes or no. Save this also. Now, our last step is update sheet with qualified data. So we're going to go back to make and we're going to go to Google Sheets. And now we're going to, instead of add a row, we're going to update a row. It would actually be add a row. We're not updating a row because we didn't have the row before. No, hold on. No, I'm tripping. Ignore me. It's going to be update a row. So we're going to select path, my drive, and we're going to find CAMS class sheet 1. Sheet name, sheet 1, remember. Row number. Now, this is important right here, guys. Your row number is always just going to be row number. Does the table contain headers? Yes. Now, you don't need to update anything. You only need to put in what you want to update. So, we're going to put the result. Usually, you're always going to use result for this right here. So, your OpenAI's result. You see how it's kind of jumping up and down? That's because that's the result from OpenAI. Just like if we were to use responses or anything from this, it would be the information from the one that's jumping up and down. So what we're going to use is result. And also the reason it's not showing anything like it's doing for these ones down here is because we didn't run OpenAI because we really don't want it to. We really don't need to right now. So we're just going to do result. So now we're going to run this whole thing, and this is what we're going to get. Choose where to start this from. All. Save. Run. And now we have Google Sheets. Unqualified. Do you know why it says unqualified? Because the AI knows that I don't have enough money. I don't have over $1,000. So we're unqualified. You see how that works, guys? Something that simple can make you a lot of money. You probably have to dive into it and get a little bit more advanced if you wanted to make some money. But like I said, this is just the basics of how things work. Just some other things that I want to dive into before we end the video. Let me go back to this. Just the basic things. Most LLMs you do have to pay for, but it's not expensive. It's like $10. $10 will last you like a month. Thousands of responses. It's not too expensive. Anything else that we need to go over? Also, Google Sheets. Let's just submit in another form just so you guys can see it in action. You can't see. Run every 15 minutes. New. At regular intervals. Once per day. Don't do that. These are just some of the intervals that you can run into or on demand. Specific dates. I'm not doing that right now. We're just going to use submit another response. So now we're going to do it again. So say another client submits a form. Your answer. We're going to do Dirk. Hold on, let me capitalize that. Dirk. Your last name. Johnny. What is your company's name? Dog House LLC. How much do you make? $1,500. Okay, now submit. It's not gonna work. Submit. Now it's going through. We just submitted another form. Now we're running the scenario again. And now if we look in here, we have Dirk, Johnny, Doghouse LLC is the company name, and he has $1,500 to spare, so he is qualified. You see how that works? Like I said, it's not really advanced. You just have to get get used to how AI automation works. Like I said, this is just the most basic of basic things. We're going to cover more deeper stuff in the next video, but for now, I'm just going to leave it right there. So if you guys enjoyed that video, or if you have any questions, just leave those down in the comments. But if you did enjoy the video, make sure you guys like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in our next class session.